Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I am Rabiu Suleiman. Thank you for joining us. Former Kano State Governor Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso and his erstwhile political ally and successor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje have been at loggerhead over their long-standing supremacy battle for the soul of the state's political structure machinery. This long political supremacy battle, which culminated into the Kano State governorship electoral contest between proteges of the titans Abba Kabir Yusuf and Nasir Gawuna, with the former declared winner and subsequently affirmed by the Supreme Court, appeared to have settled the scores. However, the 2027 political calculation of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which may likely trigger alignment and realignment of forces by the two political gladiators, is altering certain permutations over reconciliatory moves, as the two political camps appear to have continued to flex muzzle despite efforts to broker peace. It is against this backdrop we will be engaging some party chieftains on the workability or otherwise of a much talked about reconciliatory moves initiated by the presidency. And joining us for the discussion is Mohammed Jamu, a chieftain of the NMPP, a member of the inner cycle of Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. Also joining us for the conversation is Dr. Umar Tankwaya Kasai, an APC chieftain, a member of the inner cycle of the Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. Gentlemen, thank you for joining.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, but before we engage in the conversation, here are some tidbits. The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the 2023 elections, Atiku Abubakar, has tackled President Bola Tinubu on his recent private trip to France. Atiku asked President Tinubu to step aside if the shoes of governance has proven too big for him. The former vice president stated this on his X handle at Atiku on Tuesday. He mocked the president for embarking on a private foreign trip at a time when the nation's capital, Abuja, and other parts of the country appear to be at the mercy of armed kidnapping gangs. And the federal government on Tuesday inaugurated the tripartite committee on the national minimum wage. Vice President Kashim Shettima inaugurated the 37-member panel at the council chamber of the State House in Abuja. With its membership cutting across federal and state governments, the private sector and organized labor, the panel is to recommend a new national minimum wage for the country. In his opening address, Shettima urged members to speedily arrive at a resolution and submit their reports early, as the current 30,000 naira minimum wage expires at the end of March 2024. And now, before we commence the conversation, let's take a short break. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us. And also thanking our guests for finding time to be with us, Dr. Kasai and Mohammed Jamu.
Thank you so much, Shafiq.
Yeah, so let me get your reactions, if you like, or your perspective on the two tidbits we read. The first one has to do with Atiku Abubakar lashing at the president for embarking on a private visit when the country is boiling, in terms of security. Let me get Doctor's reaction to that.
All right, thank you very much. I would like to state that somebody who has a history of disappearing from the political space after every round of contest, and only to reappear when the next round of contest is about to begin, disappearing for a year, 2 or 3, into his enclave in Dubai, cannot be the person that has the moral ground to be talking about somebody or the president disappeared or not, because we all know that is his tendencies.
Well, but he told Nigerians categorically that this time around he's not going to go anywhere. No. And it's putting the government on its toes.
We are yet to see. When you judge somebody, you judge based on history. And history has had it that every time there is an election, he disappears from the scene. And I'm telling you that the president of this country President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had never had a history of disappearing. He had always had a history of holding his ground and continue to fight for the entrenchment of democracy, progress of democracy. And right now, the president has put in place a number of policies that will begin to address some of the economic issues that were bothering this country for a very long time. And I don't think that if he travels for a day or 2 or 3, it's akin to what Atiku is saying, because governance is about a team. And as it is now, the president has constituted his team, and the team is working around the clock to address these distinct issues.
When there is fire already in his doorstep, we're talking about kidnappings happening left, right, and center in Abuja, in Ekiti, in northwestern states, and so on, and yet is out of the country on a private visit.
When you talk about kidnappings and all these things you've mentioned, these are a common occurrence for some years now. And I'm telling you that...
So it's no longer a big deal now?
No, I'm not saying it's not a big deal. But the effort that the government has put in place to ensure that some of these insecurities are addressed are already bearing fruit. Now, the incidences that have happened in Abuja of recent are few that have happened, and nobody has talked about the many that have been arrested by the Nigerian security and have been addressed. Of course, with every security effort that is put in place, there are bound to be 1 or 2 that miscreants are bound to succeed. And therefore, those small pockets of success does not negate the 90, 95% or 99% opportunities that the Nigerian security have coped the occurrence of such events and happenings in the country.
Mohamed Jamu, the former vice president is concerned that we are beginning to have another president who is an absentee president, if you like, who has been, out of the country since elected and for last couple of and this special time, this very important time that Nigeria requires, leadership to address this insecurity issue promptly. He appears to be on the other side on a private visit. Does this sound, how does it sound to you?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Shafiu. And what I can say on that at this particular juncture, of course, we need all hands on deck. Apart from even him, Mr. President, even members of the opposition and any other person, whether you play politics or you don't play politics, we're in a period where Nigeria is at crossroads with history now. And we're at our lowest ebb and at a very serious trying period now. And at this time around, I feel it is time that we have to even drop politics aside and look inwards in the country. What can we be able to do right? And how can we be able to right the wrongs of all the happenings around the country? Because there must even be a country first before we can even talk about the politics. So at this time around, we are even losing the country itself. So at this time around, I feel the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria needs to be at the lead of the battlefront in curbing all these menaces that are facing the society at this particular time. And that does not mean the members of the opposition should go back to their shell and be hitting the salvo. This is not the time for hitting salvo. This is the time for each and every one of us to come together and see what we can be able to do and what we can be able to contribute and bring to the table in trying to salvage the remains of what remains of the country now.
So if I understand your position, beyond just calling out the name of the president or pinpointing at some of the lapses, there is need for collective effort.
There is need for collective effort. There is no better time that we need collective effort more than now. I expect Mr. President at this very given time now to even stand up and be a voice that should be a rallying voice to bring together everybody. Because this time around, the people who are at the helms of the affairs of the country, even if they know what the solution is, they still need each and every other person around the country to be able to come and contribute to the successes of the returning the country on the right pedestal. Once we have the country back on the right pedestal, then we can be talking about the politics and even the opposing side of the politics itself. So this time around, as the vice president or the former vice president has a constitutional right to talk about what he feels is not right at the same time. But this is the time that we have to invoke the doctrine of necessity to say everybody is not just only about exercising your constitutional right
Opposition
to talk
aside.
about what is right and what is wrong. But this time around, we have to invoke the doctrine of necessity and all come together so that we can be able to take away the fear, because we can't have a country where majority of the citizens of the country are living in palpable fear. We cannot have a country where majority of the people are living in abject poverty. We cannot have a country when education is at its lowest ebb in the country. We cannot have a country whereby the medical services in the country are so bad. We have to all right these wrongs.
Right. Okay, let's talk about the inauguration of the 37-member committee to come up with a new minimum wage. This has been long awaited. It has begun to raise some dust. Even the organized labor was threatening to take some rubble some shoulder with the presidency over that. Finally, the committee is here, a 37-member committee saddled with the responsibility of coming up with a workable, if you like, and then a fair and of course agreeable minimum wage. What do you make up with this move?
I think it shows that the president is concerned with the plight of civil servants or workers in this country. Let us all remember that on May 29, when the president was sworn in, on June 1st, the previous administration had already not included the issue of fuel subsidy in the budget. And he therefore inherited a situation whereby from day one there was no subsidy. Secondly, the country also had some economic downturn. And it was impossible for any government that is right thinking, and that especially the one that is economically endowed, to be able to think of reintroducing subsidy. And therefore the onus is on the president and the new government and the new administration to first of all take stock of the government, and that's what it has done in the last few years. Constitute the government, and which it has done by appointing ministers within the 2 months constitutionally provided time period to do that. And then the next stage is this stage of looking at the minimum wage, and that shows the concern, that shows the president is listening, and the president has promised to do that. And right now there is a committee that is in place to look into that and be able to achieve that. And don't forget, before this committee was constituted, already there is some 35,000 naira that is given to all
wage award, even though there are concerns about implementation.
0 to the level 14.
Right. So if I understand, you're trying to give, backing to the decision to remove subsidy, which has pushed Nigerians on the edge. But then there is also a concern, why putting the cart before the horse? Why taking up subsidy when you don't have concrete measures to alleviate or to cushion the effect of this? People have been talking about what has been rolled out by the government in the last couple of months as just being palliatives, not sustainable strategies to deal with the situation. Isn't that cogent enough?
Yeah. So when I made my opening comment on this question, I said that if you remember, when he was sworn in, there was no provision in the budget for subsidy payment. So what that means is he inherited a new administration or a new dispensation without provision for subsidy. So I think it will not be correct to say that this government was responsible for removal. It already made a system without a budget for subsidy. However, it is left as a new administration to address the challenges that will naturally follow subsidy removal or non-inclusion of subsidy payment in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. And all these things that he has done are measures. One, he instructed that 5 billion should be given to each of the state governors to be able to serve as palliative He directed that 35,000, as I told you, should be given to all workers.
As wage award.
Thirdly, he ensured that the rices are distributed.
Release of grains.
Release of grains. He also ensured that the humanitarian ministry dishes out funds to the needy. So there are measures that have been instituted to begin to cushion this effect before this committee has been set in place to look at a lasting solution to the problem.
Mohamed Jamu, looking at the current economic realities and what the workforce in the country has been facing, grappling with, if you like, or contending with a 30,000 naira minimum wage, even though it's not even 100% being implemented. Some states are yet to even implement. And here we are with a current situation where we're dealing with nosedive indices of economy, high rate of inflation, hyperinflation, dwindling value of the naira, and so on and so forth. How are you looking at the move now that the government has decided to set up this committee, and what do you expect from the committee?
Well, it's better late than never. That's the absolute truth. It's better late than never. Although we have expected this to have taken place right from the time when the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria took the oath of office, because the reality of the matter, like you have mentioned, the indices of the economy, everything has nosedive. As I'm talking to you today, the naira at the parallel market is selling at about 1,460 upwards, and it's still going upwards. So the multiplier effect on the cost of purchases around the country, everything has skyrocketed. And then with the cost of the petroleum at the same time, so the cost of transportation, the cost of buying food, the cost of living, the cost of even paying rent, everything has skyrocketed. So when someone is to earn 30,000 naira, even 50,000 naira, if you earn it today, it cannot be able to solve.
Cannot buy a bag of rice.
It cannot even buy a bag of rice. So the only thing we can say at this time is, as the voice of concern, is to call on this 37-member committee to really look inward and look deep before they can be able to make suggestions on the best way forward. Because we are just living in reality on the keg of gunpowder now. The way things are going in the country and such things that are happening, a lot of companies are already sacking workers off. So we're having a lot of people that are going into the idle market, and you know what the idle mine is. It's a devil workshop. Once people lose work and they don't have anything to do, they start to think about the bad things they could be able to do in the society. So this committee is at the right track, and like I said, it is better late than never. So we urge on them, and we wish they can be able to do the right thing at the right time for the common man. Okay,
before we engage in our conversation, the talking point, again, there is also concerns in respect to the promise by the president. When he was campaigning, he was talking about living wage, that is going to be good, if you like, to the workers of Nigeria, a living wage, not even minimum wage. But this appeared to have started changing. The tone has started changing. We're now hearing about negotiating minimum wage and not living wage. This is a serious concern, especially looking at what you said earlier on the fact that the numbers are still rising as we speak. Should that be a concern to Nigerian workers? And what would you advise the president to do in terms of keeping to his promise?
Well, at this time around, we have to be realists. That is the honest truth. We have to be realist. Because like I was saying earlier, Nigeria is at its lowest ebb now. If you are talking about living wage or whatever kind of wage, you want to look at it from whatever perspective now, the first question that should even come to your mind is, where are we even going to generate the money from? Where are we going to generate the money from? If PDP was in government, or NNPP is in government, or Labour is in government, or even the APC that is in government today, we have to be fair and we have to look at it from that perspective. Where can Nigeria be able to even generate the money?
But we have a lot of Wests, people have been talking about monies being spent on jamborees, on cars and so on and so forth that are not needed.
I quite agree with you in that particular regard. We have to, at this time around, tight all the loose ends and make sure that there is no longer wastages at this particular time. But the workers of Nigeria deserve better than what they are getting now. And the only thing that we can say, despite the palpable situation that we have found ourselves, the president has to live to his expectation. He gave his words during the campaign, and we expect at the end of the day, even not immediately, but let them be able to put the right economic indices in place that can change the story of Nigeria. And this is the only thing that we are looking up to see if they can be able to do it.
Right. Okay, now back to our conversation. Reconciliation moves in Kano. A center of commerce, a center of politics, some will say. Even the president understands the need, to have a Kano that is devoid of political rancor and all of that, and then it's initiating this move. But the concern is this move realistic, going by, some of the comments being made by these two actors and their body languages? Let me start with Doctor. Is this move a realistic move?
In politics, there is no permanent enemy and there is no permanent friend.
It's about interest.
It's about interest. And the
interest of individuals or interest of the common people?
Interest of the group, of the whole, with the common man inclusive, and the participants who participate in active politics. When the president won, and in his speech, his body language and the content of his speech was that he's going to open up the government, his government, to every willing participant who wants to contribute to nation building. It is in that light that he extended the olive branch to PDP, to so many, to NMPP. Today, I can't remember, count the number of times I've seen red caps, parading the villa. So it is in that.
Are you saying the red caps are frequenting the villa?
No, I'm coming to that. I'm saying that it is in the nature of the president to ensure that he brings everybody together. And just like Jamu was saying, that you have to open the door and carry everybody along. You could see many of the PDP states that have conflict. Mr. President has intervened to bring about harmony within those states. It is not an APC state. You could see what has happened in Rivers, you see what has happened in Oyo, and quite a number of states where there are so conflict outside APC. So if you have gone as a president to achieve that within other parties who are opposition, what more within your own party? And every party before the next election, the intention of that party is to grow in terms of membership, in terms of strength, and in terms of even absorbing smaller parties and smaller interest groups. That is what the harmony we are talking about. And if the president, in his magnanimity and wisdom, has conferred with the chairman of the party, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, about opening the doors of the APC, the way he has done in other states, in Kano, to extend that olive branch so that the government of NNPP and the governor can come into the party. I think the chairman of the party, who is our leader in Kano, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, has no option but to toe the line of the president, because they must work in hand and in sync. And I think it's a beginning. It has to be midwife. And it will require some time to be able to achieve them. But I think if the mindset of the people that the chairman of the party is calling are set in reconciliation, there may be success.
Extending an olive branch, but at the same time throwing tantrums. Yes, the party is open for you to come in, but know that if you come in, you have an elder, you have a grandfather. You are coming into a party that is not yours. You are the ones looking for favor and all of that. How does this help, in the reconciliation move?
Well, all these issues about reconciliation, we from Kano State, especially of the NNPP and the Kano State government, we're just all hearing this on the pages of media, social media, and the rest. We don't even know.
Are you saying that you are not being consulted?
We are not aware.
I understand the president had a meeting recently with your principal.
Okay, let me tell you about the meeting. You see, the first thing first, after the election, my principal was with the president. And they were only there to thank the president for what he has done. because President Tinubu and his vice president, they have earned our respect and the respect of so many people that are within the opposition. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, instead of exercising an executive power and forcing the judiciary to do that which is wrong, the President decided to stay away from the activities of the judiciary and respected.
Isn't that part of the whole game plan?
Respected the separation of power. And the judiciary, in their own wisdom, did that which was right. So the members of the opposition, when you look at it, the governor of Plateau, the governor of Zamfara, the governor of Kano, because they were the three states that were having challenges within the judiciary. And then at the end of the day, those challenges that took place at the Court of Appeal and at the lower court, that is the tribunal, the Supreme Court was able to right the wrongs of the miscarriage of justices that took place there.
Did that come with a cost?
No cost.
Because
no cost.
There has been this, even though your party has silenced such speculations that it came with a deal. Perhaps some of
there was no deal. There was no deal.
You're likely going
Look, let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you all those issues of deal and no deal. Let me even say it with all due respect. The members of the APC from Kano extraction and their leader, they are even. I have never seen in the history of my life a place whereby members of a political party, by their actions, are even trying to destroy the goodwill of their own political party.
How do you mean?
The leader of their political party, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, decided to stay aloof and not to interfere or allow anybody to interfere in the processes that led to the judgments the Supreme Court took. But these people are busy insinuating that there was a deal. So if you say there is a deal, does that mean the judiciary of Nigeria is so bad to the extent that there has to be a deal before they can do their work? Those gentlemen at the Supreme Court who has served judiciary at different sphere, from either the magistrate to the High Court to the tribunal to the Court of Appeal and up to the Supreme Court, having worked either for 40 years or 50 years, and have even reached their pinnacle, that they cannot do their work until there is a deal? Come on. We cannot be insulting our judiciary to this level. There is no deal. These justices of the Supreme Court did that which was right for the safety and interest of this country.
So the reconciliatory airport is just an afterthought.
Let me come to that. So let me tell you. And then after that, my leader and the governor of Kano State went to the president to say, thank you so much. You have done well for this country. Because even if you belong to the opposition, if the leader of the country, who is the current president, or you belong to the opposition at the state, and the leader of that state, who is the governor of the state, did that which is right, it is in order for you to go and say, well done to him. Same thing, which if he did something that is wrong, for you to be able to come out and point it out to him and say that which you did is wrong. And that was misinterpreted into the president boxing somebody up in the room and saying, go and reconcile.
Okay, Doctor, the reason why, a number of Nigerians have been following this development with keen interest. Just like I said earlier, there was a meeting at the presidency, as reported, first with APC stakeholders in Kano and the national chairman, and then subsequently with the leader of the NMPP and leader of the Kwankwaso movement and so on. But Jamu is telling us that it is not the reason for this reconciliatory move. But we know that these two gladiators have been at loggerhead for a very long time, right from the time he succeeded him up till this moment, and that's what even led to him. Decamping from the APC to the PDP, and then later to the AMPP. Are you saying all is well all this while?
So let me put into perspective certain things that my brother Jamu has said for consistency. You know, at the tribunal, penultimate the judgment and after the judgment, we know that the same movement have attacked judges of that tribunal. We've seen videos, some of their members, sanction or no sanction. And to the extent that the tribunal
isn't that an allegation? Is there any?
If you read the judgment, of the tribunal, there is a paragraph that says they were chased out of Kano in order to read their judgment. Now, part of the appeal that was contained in the NMPP at the appeal court included the issue of delivering judgment over Zoom. What has led to the delivering of judgment over Zoom by the judges? It is because of the perceived insecurity of the lives of the judges that has taken them out of the courtroom to deliver judgment for their life. And I'm coming. Now, when we went to, there was an appeal at the appeal court, we all know the things that have happened also, and the comment, especially when judgment was passed. And we saw them petition written to UN, to United Nations, so very little other petition written. Now, it is the same judiciary that was castigated at the tribunal, the same judiciary that was castigated at the appeal, is now being held at the Supreme Court. So it is okay when you get a wrong judgment not in your favor. It's not okay, but it's okay when you get it in the judiciary is being fair. That's one aspect. The second aspect I want to say is, deal or no deal, when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu won his election and was sworn in May 29, tell me which between Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the NMP movement had to travel to Paris in France to meet with him in the name of these opening doors and accepting this reconciliation. NMPP. We've seen also when visit to Villa about this reconciliation, about this opening the doors and participating in the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We have seen these gestures. So when you talk about deal or no deal, like you're hearing it outside the context, or maybe on the street, but we know the antecedents. We know that in the day a different song is sung, and in the night.
So in other words, you are confirming that there is a deal. Is that
I didn't say
that
a position? I'm saying that consistently over time, we know those who have been chasing the president for him to open the doors and carry them along in the government is NNPP. And for them not to come back and say there is no such overture on their own part, I think it will be dancing back and forth. So I wasn't part of my leaders who went to the villa.
So you in the APC can't believe there is a concession, isn't it? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, the judiciary gave his ruling, and the president, in his magnanimity, has asked the way he did. Today we have Wiki, who is a member of a PDP, a former governor of PDP, a presidential aspirant, though not a candidate in PDP.
A member of the breakaway PDP governors.
Now in this administration, and the same olive tree is branch is extended to several other parties and NNPP, and I think time will tell whether they have this desire to join this
so you are also
party.
So you are also anticipating the possible shifting of camp, or movement from
the way they have been visiting the bride and the fathers of the bride, bringing wine, things like that. Well, it shows that they see a bride there and they're hoping.
Okay. Jabu will respond to that when we return from the break. In case you're just joining us, the program is Daily Politics, and today we're looking at Kano politics, with particular emphasis or focus on the reconciliatory move by the presidency, as reported, to reconcile the two key gladiators in that state, talking about former governors Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso and Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. We'll take a break, and when we return, the conversation continues. Stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us. It's still Daily Politics, and you can do well by following us across our social platforms and also watching this program live on YouTube. And today we're looking at Kano politics, with particular focus on the reconciliatory move to reconcile the two major political gladiators in that state. The incumbent chairman of the APC at the national level, former governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, and the leader of the Kwankwaso movement, former governor Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. Just before the break, Doctor was talking about almost letting the cat out of the bag, though he said time will tell. Yeah. So is the time likely going to tell, because we're beginning to see also some concessions on their own part. The leader of the movement at some point, he said, is open to also work, with everyone outside his political party. That's one. And then two, we're also beginning to see some moves at bringing everyone on board. The current governor, Kabir Yusuf, recently inaugurated, if you like, or constituted a committee of elders. And former Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje was on that list. And then, so we're beginning to see some sort of implementation of perhaps what transpired behind closed doors. Is that the position?
There is nothing, I will say again, for posterity, there is nothing that has happened behind closed doors. But let me just tell you one thing. Number one, Kano State is arguably the most populous state in Nigeria.
One of the most populous. I think Lagos is
I said arguably. Arguably.
Kano is number one, Lagos is number two.
Arguably. If we were to go with the last census, Kano is number one.
Okay.
So I leave it at the arguably Kano is the most populous state in Nigeria. And with a large number of out-of-school children, with a large number of people who are redundant and doing nothing. So if we want to fix Kano State, we cannot just sit back in our shell as an opposition state and feel we can be able to do it right. We really need opening up and working together with the federal government. And in working with the federal government, we found one or two things which President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did, which made us comfortable. Number one, very recently, when one of the ministers of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was caught wanting, he relieved our of our position for investigation to take place. Same thing in Kano, we have had one or two officers of government who have been found wanting, and immediately the governor of Kano State relieved them of their positions. So with that action, we have seen something which we have similarity in common with what the president, and we felt comfortable with the president in that regard. The second thing is on the issue of the judiciary, whereby the president respected the separation of power between the executive, legislature, and the judiciary. Same thing in Kano, we're given the judicial arm of government and the legislative arm of government their right and their independence to perform independently without interference with the executive. From that perspective, we have seen another common area where we feel comfortable with the president. So for as long as the president continues to do things which are promoting good governance and cohesion in the country, I assure you the government of NNPP in Kano will continue collaborating and working hand in hand with the president so that he succeeds as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and at the same time, we succeed as the government that is ruling Kano.
In the same token, are you also considering accepting this early branch from the national chairman of the party? He was in Kano recently, and he said, members of the NNPP is calling on the members of in particular, the governor, to join his party, so that, together, you can move the state forward.
Well, the national chairman of the APC, the former governor of Kano State, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, I can only describe what he did in Kano when he comes to Kano like a drama. I was even thinking I was watching Nollywood when I saw him talking. It was just like a Nollywood movie. If you want, as a leader of a political party, to get people to become your members, you don't just go on air, in one hand, insult the party, in the other hand, say you are inviting people, in the other aspect, display their overbearing ego and whatever, and then at the same time, with all due respect, that is not how to do it. There is a window and there is a way to approach. Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, when he was the deputy, the chairman of the APC, when he was the deputy governor of Kano, when Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Muhammad Buhari, president, wanted them to join the APC, they didn't go to any media and act a drama. They didn't go to any street and talk. They came to the government house in Kano, and they came and displayed something on the table and said, this is the bride. We want you to come and join hand and work with us. So there is a procedure of approach which ab initio was not taken into consideration. So for me, what the chairman of the APC did when he came to Kano is nothing more than a drama, and we live it as a drama.
Okay, Doctor, you know, sounding, I mean, Jamu is sounding perhaps to close, if you like, or to rule out that possibility of having reconciliation, because if he said what your chairman did was more like a drama, I wonder how that will aid or help, you know, this reconciliatory move that you are talking about. And within your party too, there has been this palpable fear that allowing, if you like, this reconciliatory move to succeed will put you on the edge, because you lose perhaps that relevance in the party and that leadership position in the party, because you have another leader now in the governor of the state. How does this play out, you know, in your own camp?
Okay, let me just first of all put this in context and in perspective. After the Supreme Court judgment, the president invited leaders of the APC in Kano, which you all reported.
Stakeholders, yeah.
And stakeholders. And in that meeting, part of the agreement, which you also saw in the communique that the leaders issued after they left the villa, came back to outside the villa and had a meeting of stakeholders, and then a communique was issued, was first of all for the party chairman, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, to go to Kano and discuss with party members and calm them down, and in a way advise them to reason with the Supreme Court judgment, because politics and court are processes that people pass through, and whatever the judgment is must be accepted. It is in that mood of discussing with party members, calming them down, giving them reassurances that if you lose Kano in the court, don't be myopic. Remember, you have Nigeria. The president of the country belongs to your party, and it's your party. So you are an extension of the bigger picture, rather than just thinking that you are just small fish in a well, which is Kano. Now, the second point I want to make is that it is in that his remarks that he did exactly what the president did in his acceptance speech on May 29, where in his speech he said he is opening his government and extending olive branch tree to other party and his contestant to come and contribute to nation building. That was exactly what Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje did. He said he is extending.
But what they found offensive was his remarks, derogatory remarks, you know, against their party, against their leadership.
Okay,
and so on.
That's what I'm saying. Context. Now, after that meeting that day, in the evening, the director of press of the governor of Kano State was interviewed, and in his response to that question, he spoke exactly like Jamu did, and said that they just had it over the news in town, and it remains in town. Somebody who extends his olive branch to you, and the director of the press of the governor came to say that, as far as they are concerned, they did not consider that extension as anything of any meaning. And again, the following day, a press release was made by the same director of press that they are not privy to any agreement, they have no intention, they have no business with relationship or moving into APC. And of course, the party that you are extending such gesture to, you cannot have a director of press who speaks for the governor responding in that manner. So I want you to put that in context.
Right, from your submissions, Jamo, it is obvious that this reconciliatory move is dead on arrival. Is that the position?
Well, let me tell you one thing, Shafiu. When His Excellency Abba Kabir Yusuf came back from Kano to Kano after the Supreme Court judgment, he was the one that first extended an olive branch to Nasir Yusuf Gawuna, the aspirant, the APC candidate for the governorship election in 2023. He extended an olive branch and said, come, let's work together. Up to today, we have not even had any response from any media of APC or anybody. Thank God from our own side, at least we have given a response. That shows that we have even given recognition to what was said. But we didn't get that recognition when we extended our own olive branch.
But you didn't answer my question.
Let me tell you, right. Your question is if this reconciliation can be able to take place. Reconciliation can take place.
Okay. We are the atmosphere of this disagreement.
We are not against reconciliation with anybody at this given time. We respect that in life there is always a time to give in and there is a time to stay away. So at this time around, when we feel Nigeria and indeed Kano State requires everybody to come together and work together, we are okay to reconcile with anybody who genuinely wants a reconciliation. That is why we even have an elders committee where His Excellency, the chairman of the APC and the former governor of Kano, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, is an automatic member of that committee. That is a sign that we are not averse to reconciliation.
Okay, doctor, they're not averse to reconciliation, but they are not okay with your approach. And from in your own camp, do you think it is doable now that you are holding on to your grip? Very quickly in 1 minute.
Okay, the tradition in Kano is that when there is a contest and somebody emerges, we go back to the trenches for the next 4 years. And ordinarily, given the mindset of the APC members in Kano, what would have happened is that the APC members would have remained united behind Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, remain in the trenches for the next 4 years and work towards success in 2027. But because of the magnanimity of the president and his nature in carrying everybody along, he has asked the chairman to open his doors and invite more party members so that the party will grow. And that extension has been extended to the governor of Kano State and NMPP and his supporters. Of course, we are left to see what becomes of that.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Yakasai. I'm trying to get the name. Yes, thank you very much. Umar Yakasai. Thank you very much for your informed perspective. And to Mohammed Jamo, we also appreciate your coming and your contributions on the platform.
Thank you so much.
And viewers, this is where we come to the end of this conversation on Daily Politics. You've heard from the two camps in Kano concerning this reconciliation efforts. And on behalf of the technical crew, my name is Shafiu Suleiman. Thank you for staying with us.